Listen. That's never going to get old. Welcome back to another video. Today we're going to cover a very interesting thing that I just saw on Instagram, and it's something I've been waiting for the past 2 years. Chris Stapleton is releasing a guitar with Epiphone, and it is a version of the Epiphone Frontier. Now, why does this matter? Because obviously a lot of y'all like Chris Stapleton. Reason it's been about 2 years, or how I even knew about this, is I've seen him in the last 2 years. I saw him in Virginia Beach about 2 years ago, and he had this guitar. He played it. I'll throw some video in right now. Ever since, I've been like, what's this collaboration going to be? Because I knew the headstock. I've got an Epiphone. It's in a case right now. But I've got one of the new Epiphones with the new headstock. So I was like, that's an Epiphone. I know it is. But what is this project going to be? It's called the Epiphone Frontier. And it's something that was derived back in the 60s. And we'll kind of get into the nitty-gritty about what it really is and what the core essentials that Chris was probably looking for with this one. I thought it was very interesting because Epiphone, that's what threw me. So why Epiphone? And also too, like what really is this guitar going to be? And I think y'all are going to be surprised at the price tag being an Epiphone if you haven't seen the release yet. But I have heard you. I have absolutely heard you. In my Chris Stapleton National Anthem video, we're over 3.2 thousand views, I think. And I just want to thank y'all all for watching that, and that continuing to go up and get comments and likes, and I just really appreciate y'all for that. That's probably the most I've done on my own in a single video, and I'm just so grateful that that's something that y'all found interesting. So, here's some more Chris Stapleton content. Not that I was seeking it, it kind of found me on Instagram, but I was like, you know, the people kind of like when I talk about Chris Stapleton, so maybe you'll find this interesting. Thank y'all so much for all the support, all the, you know, we're getting up there in subscribers. We started this channel, a month and a half ago, and we're at 30, and I call that a win. I call that a win. Again, most I've ever had single-handedly. But keep in mind, 3.2 thousand of you watched that video, and over 100 of you liked that video, and I still only have 30 subscribers. So keep that in mind. If you like this and you like that, best way you can help me is hit that subscriber button, hit that like, and comment down below and let me know what you think. It helps me keep doing this. Anyways, to get down to the nitty-gritty, what is this guitar? Where did it come from? And why should you care? We'll get right to that. Is this thing working? I don't even know if it's working. Austin sings opera. Okay. So get into the nitty-gritty of what we're about to talk about. It's essentially the 1960s Epiphone Frontier model acoustic guitar. And I think these were coined the FT1 110s. That's what they were called. Very interesting guitar. If you're not aware of it, I wasn't aware of it. Basically, the crux of this guitar, they were made in Kalamazoo with the Gibson stuff, and I think at the time Gibson was trying to make Epiphone their acoustic brand. That was kind of what they were trying to push. It was still a little bit more working man, is what I would call it, like just a little more low budget than the Gibson stuff, but very comparable and very awesome instruments. At first, when I was looking at Chris's, I noticed the headstock was the more modern Kalamazoo headstock that Epiphone's using now. When I found pictures of the original, a lot of them had that very, I'll put a picture of it, that very whoosh vase kind of looking headstock where it's kind of tall. It's a longer headstock. And so I was like, well, missed opportunity, Chris. You could have used that. But evidently, the actual 1960s ones used that Kalamazoo headstock. So it was a perfect opportunity. It might have been exactly what Chris was looking for and why he went in this area is because Epiphone started using that headstock again. And I personally love the Kalamazoo headstock. It's just kind of like a tapered Gibson headstock. That's my favorite Epiphone headstock to date. But again, it's a very flary guitar, so I was thinking the Vase headstock looked really good on it. Essentially what this guitar is, it's very similar to a Gibson Dove, if you know what that is. The bracing's very similar. So the original, they had a shorter scale length. I think it was a 24.9 inch scale length, which is very interesting compared to the Chris Stapleton model that's coming out. And I don't know if that was a choice from the Kalamazoo factory or what exactly they were trying to do there. But you would see a lot more females with this guitar, evidently, because of that scale length. It just made life a little easier for them. But also, too, there are nuts that say the scale length matters a lot. Like you see PRS doing the 245. You know, evidently there was a lot of those 59 Gibson instruments that had that scale length, probably by pure accident, just a mismeasure, but you know, people swear by them. But there's a couple different versions of this guitar, but I think the one Chris was most like shooting for, the ordered ones, and the ordered ones like from Epiphone, not necessarily just buying it in a guitar shop. I think they had different pick guards. But he was looking for this cactus looking pick guard. I can't remember exactly what they call it, but it's the something cactus. And it's a really cool look. I'll put a picture of it here. Really cool pick guard. And I've always been one for either no pick guard or the most gorgeous pick guard you can put on a guitar. That's just me personally. That pick guard's got to do something to that instrument if I'm going to put it on there. So, but I personally think that what happened here is this was a want of Chris Stapleton's. It sounds like he could never get his hands on the right Frontier from the 60s. So why not go to the source and have it done for you? I mean, that makes complete sense that he would seek this out. But again, it's essentially a Gibson Dove, just a little bit different. The inlays are a little bit different. They've kind of got this H thing going. It's basically the block inlays off the Gibson Customs with kind of some black notches, just to kind of give it a little bit of its own thing. Looks like some of the old Epiphones just had the solid square block. But really cool guitar used by a bunch of different artists, which I didn't realize this guitar was even that popular. I'd never seen it before, but evidently guys like Noel Gallagher, Tom Petty, obviously Chris using it now, Sheryl Crow used it, but I had no idea that this was even a thing. But when I say similar, I'm talking more about the construction as far as a Dove. So it's got maple back and sides, that's the quintessential thing, and a Sitka spruce top. So this guitar obviously is meant to be more high-end, probably, and I see a lot of this singer-songwriter people go to this guitar or either the J45. And the J45 is a little different because it's got kind of this mid thing that happens that doesn't always mix well in a band, but for the single guitar player and singer, that guitar kicks butt. And Chris is notorious for using J45 too. But this is a little different. This is more of a high-end kick, and when I heard it at the show, I'm going to be completely honest with you, I could tell it was a new guitar. Like, it sounded like a new guitar. And they typically sound a little bright, opposed to like Chris's other acoustics he was using. But I'm sure this is just like any other guitar. As you play it, it will wear in and start to develop. The vibration will, eventually turn this guitar into an awesome guitar. So why does all this matter? Why does all this matter? One, it's because Chris wanted it. That's, the whole thing. It's something that Chris wanted. There's got to be a reason why he wanted it. So I'm answering that question. Why did he want it? He could have any instrument in the entire world. The man's Grammy winning at this point. So why this one? And I think it's pure look. I think Chris he wants something that sounds good and that looks gorgeous. He's been using stuff that sounds great for his entire career. but his equipment has not always been the most gorgeous. You know, he's never had the most prettiest guitars or anything like that. He's just had a great sound. So why not have the best of both worlds and take advantage of this situation? Some of these old Epiphones are reaching as much as like $6,500. Like, they're very, very sought after, evidently. Yeah, Chris's will actually be a 300 run. I think they make a Epiphone Frontier in the USA. So they still do make this guitar. They have recently started making this guitar. If you don't want Chris's version, you can get more of the original Epiphone one. But this guitar is built in the USA. It says it's produced by expert luthiers and craftsmanship in Bozeman, Montana. So there it is. They're made in the Gibson factory in Bozeman, Montana. So Epiphone, these USA Epiphones are being made by Gibson in that factory to Epiphone spec. Which obviously it's the same company, but, you know, I didn't know if they had their own factory or what exactly, how they were producing it. So that's cool to know. That's cool to know. It's made in the USA, same in your Gibson factories. And that will tell you why the price tag is so high. It is $5,000 roughly from most places. Why this guitar $5,000? I think the Epiphone lover would love to have this. Also, too, Chris's version of this is absolutely gorgeous. I'll put a picture up right here, and it is a beautiful guitar. The flame in the maple is awesome. The inlay's awesome. He's kind of got more of a X sort of thing happening in his inlay. The positioning, the double guard, the sunburst, it's the full package. And it's equipped with a pickup. So if you plan on playing this live or whatever, it's at LR Bags. I was hoping that this would be more of a budget thing that he's been using live, but again, made by Gibson, it's going to be a pretty big price tag. I do believe you get the case with it, which is kind of cool. So the pink insert case where it's got all the, you know, the tan outside and the pink inside, like normal Gibson stuff. Again, with knowing that most Epiphones wore some sort of maple back inside and a spruce top and a mahogany neck, we're sitting on the same thing with Chris's. So basically, Indian rosewood fretboard, which is probably different. Those were probably Brazilian rosewood. That could be why they're sought after too. Neckwood mahogany, just like those. Rosewood bridge, all that good stuff. And then, of course, sides is a flame maple, and then Sitka spruce top. The scale length, though, is a 25.5, which on Chris's, that, you know, full-size man, he probably couldn't tell a difference. They probably just built it that way. The scale length being different, that could alter the sound, or at least the feel of it, and how you approach the instrument. So, not saying that this is a full-blown replica of the Frontier, but it's pretty darn close. And it's made in a similar factory with similar methods. LR Bag pickups are awesome, so that's cool they did that. Tuning machines are Godo Keystones, which you know are going to be awesome. Yeah, it's a pretty interesting mix. Again, seeing Chris play this live, that's what got me so curious as to what this would be or what it turns out to be. But they do make, I think, a master-built version of this at a lower cost. So if you want something close, that's going to be the one to go to. I think they're around $800-900, more budget-friendly. I think the only difference in the Epiphone inspired by or the master-built series is the depth of the instrument. So this was probably full-size depth of body. Sometimes they're a little bit smaller, which could alter the sound a little bit. I always suggest people, if you're looking for a guitar, the best thing to do is find a situation where you can play that guitar. That's what's gonna tell you the most about that instrument. So if you play it, sounds just as good as a Gibson, buy it. Either way, I thought this was really, really interesting. And really cool that Chris Stapleton is taking this guitar to another level. Obviously, a bunch of people have played this instrument in the past, and it sounds like a lot of these are pawn shop specials where there's not a whole lot of them out there. If you find one, they probably don't know what it is. that sort of thing. So keep your eye out for this. This is a pretty large market, evidently, for the used ones, because they're just having trouble finding them. Collectors want them. Or if you just in particular like this guitar, you can buy this one. There's a bunch of other options, evidently, and I had no idea about it. I had no idea Epiphone was still making these. I didn't even know the guitar existed. Don't pass on it just because it says Epiphone. There's a lot of good instruments in there. I can say that probably one of my favorite instruments I've ever had is I've got an 87 Sheraton that unfortunately I had to replace the bridge on because it fell apart. But mind you, the thing sounds raw and I love it. But anyway, so if you like this video, make sure you hit that like button down below. Hit that subscribe button. If you didn't like the content, I'd love to know why. Let me know down below. I think that's about everything we need to talk about. If there's something I didn't hit on, or if you have any more questions or anything like that about this guitar, comment it down below. I think we hit on most everything there, though. This is going to be a pretty awesome instrument for anyone that gets their hands on it. There's only going to be 300 made, so better start putting in them pre-orders now. It's been fun. Deuces.